Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited for today's deep dive
Me too.
because we are talking about something that you use probably every day
Yeah.
and you probably don't even think about.
Uh-huh.
We are going deep on foam,
Foam, yes.
but not just any foam.
Right.
We are talking about biodegradable polyurethane foam.
Biodegradable polyurethane foam.
So to kind of kick things off,
Yeah.
this whole deep dive is inspired by this really interesting case study that I was reading about a medical device company
Okay.
that really wanted to make their foam products more sustainable.
Yeah, and this is a really important topic because it's not just about, kind of warm and fuzzy marketing. It's actually about regulations,
Oh, really?
avoiding greenwashing and misleading claims.
That's really interesting because I think when I think about foam, I don't think about it as like a huge environmental
Right.
problem. You know what I mean? Like it just seems so innocuous, but
It's everywhere, though.
it is everywhere. And I guess if it's not breaking down,
Yeah.
then it's just sitting in landfills forever.
Exactly. And so this company wanted to make sure that their foam actually decomposed in real-world conditions.
Okay, so how do you even test that? Like, how do you know if something's going to biodegrade in a landfill?
Well, that's the challenge, right? You can't just bury it and wait 100 years.
Right.
You need a faster and more scientifically rigorous way to do it.
And that's where the lab comes in.
Exactly. So they partnered with a specialized lab
Oh, wow.
to recreate those landfill conditions. And, the key thing here is creating an anaerobic environment.
Anaerobic.
Yeah.
So break that down for us.
Anaerobic means without oxygen, basically.
Okay.
So think about the bottom of a landfill where everything's all packed down.
Yeah.
That's an anaerobic environment.
So they're like recreating this oxygen-free zone in a lab.
Exactly.
That's so wild. I mean, it's cool that we have that technology to be able to
It is really cool.
replicate that.
Absolutely. And to add to that, this lab wasn't just any lab. It was ISO accredited and GLP compliant.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest, I don't know what either of those things mean.
Okay, so think of it as like Michelin stars for science.
Okay.
It means they meet incredibly rigorous standards for quality and reliability.
Okay.
You've probably seen those ISO labels on,
Food.
packaging, car parts, all sorts of things.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about ensuring that things are made to consistent and trustworthy standards.
Okay. So we have our super legit lab, our oxygen-free environment.
Right.
They just toss the foam in there and just see what happens.
Well, it's a bit more involved than that, but essentially, yes. They
Okay.
use a specific test called ASTM D5511.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really cool. They use bacteria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from a municipal anaerobic digester to break down the foam.
From
Like a giant bacteria compost bin for the city.
Okay.
You can think of it that way.
That's an interesting image.
So these bacteria are like the waste management crew of the microbial world.
Okay, so they introduce the bacteria to the foam and then...
Yeah, and then they monitor it very closely.
Oh, wow.
For 60 days.
60 days.
It's a delicate dance between time, temperature, and,
With the bacteria.
and these hardworking bacteria. Exactly.
Yeah. So how about drum roll, please?
Drum roll.
Did it work?
Yes,
Real
it did. The foam passed with flying colors.
So they achieved their goal.
Yes,
I bet.
it showed significant biodegradation, which means it truly breaks down in those landfill conditions.
Wow, that's really impressive.
It is, yeah.
But I guess, thinking more broadly about this, is this something that any company that uses foam could just
Potentially, yes.
implement, or is it...
It depends on the specific type of foam
Okay.
and the intended application.
Okay.
But the principles are the same. You need to design the material for biodegradability, and
Yeah.
then you need to rigorously test it.
So this company really did their due diligence.
Absolutely, and that's where Infinita Lab comes in.
Yeah.
They partnered with the testing lab to help this company understand the results and make sure they could confidently and accurately claim that their foam was biodegradable.
Gotcha.
So it's a really good example of collaboration and scientific expertise.
It's so cool. This is like a win-win, right?
Mm.
The company gets to be environmentally responsible.
Yeah.
They're avoiding any legal issues by backing up their claims with real science.
Exactly. And they're setting a good example for other companies to follow.
Yeah. Are there any downsides to using this foam? Is it less durable or more expensive to make?
That's a really good question, and it kind of highlights the complexity of sustainability.
Okay.
There are often trade-offs to consider.
Yeah.
In this case, the biodegradable foam might be slightly more expensive to produce,
Okay.
but in the long run, it could actually save money by reducing waste disposal costs and environmental impact.
That makes sense.
So it's all about taking a holistic view.
So this whole deep dive got me thinking,
Yeah,
like, we interact with foam all the time, right?
we do.
From packaging to furniture to
Mattresses.
I
Yeah.
mean, what other everyday items could we be using this type of testing on to make sure that they're...
Oh, that's a great question. So many things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about disposable coffee cups, food containers.
Yeah.
Even some types of clothing could be redesigned with biodegradability in mind.
It makes you think about, like, what a truly circular economy would look like if everything was designed to decompose properly.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's such a fascinating and important challenge.
Yeah.
If we want to move towards a future where waste is minimized
Yeah,
and resources are used more sustainably, we need to be asking these questions
for sure.
and pushing for innovation.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of biodegradable foam.
It was my pleasure.
I thought I knew a bit about foam, but
Yeah,
I learned so much today, and it's just so cool to see these kinds of innovations happening.
absolutely.
Hopefully you all learned a lot as well, and as always, stay curious.